Hey, dobry den. Good afternoon. My name is Uffe Sorensen. I used to work with IBM, as some of you know, for a long while, and joined HCL in the beginning of 2019, and have been working on Domino for a long time, and still do that. And lately, I've been deeply involved in updating our license models and responding to some of the key requirements that we've been seeing from our customers and partners. With me today also is Tony Holder, who's a sales director in Europe, and he's going to help talk through some of the transition that we can do on the licensing and how this whole thing is going to work.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
So what we want to cover is really what we now call the CCB model, the Domino Complete Collaboration Business Edition, CCB. I want to talk about why we did it, what is this model, who are the user constituents, how to increase the value of CCB you licensed, understand the various user classes around CCB, learn how to configure it, figure out how to count the users, and then actually how do you get to the CCB licensing if you're not already on it. Why do we do it? Well, we've had a lot of feedback and requests from customers and partners of, first of all, getting rid of server-based licensing. No one wants to manage server capacity or sub-capacity licensing based on any measure, processor value units or other things. It is a very tedious and very error-prone and very risky job. Also, everybody's asking for a simple, transparent way of accounting for compliance so that Domino can issue a simple report. You can manage it yourself in a simple way and make sure that everything is as it should be. Also, some clear rules on how we support people inside and outside the enterprise, making sure that we can support websites on Domino and also provide tailored content to guest users, and have a model for engaging business to business with external users that need to engage and fully use Domino applications and workflows that's set up in your environment. We've also been asked for some clear rules for how to extend Domino Vault and other capabilities to the user constituents. And last but not least, clarifying what can you actually do with the Domino server you have installed, in particular in relationship to interoperability with other environments and multi-vendor scenarios where we have partners that provide like calendar integration and other things. How do we make sure that that actually works? That is exactly what we've set out to address. We came up with a very simple answer. We have one model, which is the CCB, and it is a per user everything model. You can use any client on any protocol, on any server volume, to run any application, including your enterprise email and mobile setup. So it's a complete use of everything Domino offers, licensed on a per user basis. There's a footnote here. When I say per user, the very simple way that we can count and manage all this is that we simply look at if there's an entry in a directory that permits you to authenticate. If you can log in, it's something we count. If it doesn't log in, we don't count it. So like shared mail files doesn't count, but any other users, they do count. Let's dive a little bit further into that. So what is the CCB model? It's what we do to optimize the whole licensing you have. Every employee, every contractor in the enterprise, any task that separately, log into something like receptionist management, like whatever supervisor type management, everything that logs in is a CCB user. The CCB users permit you to install any volume of Domino, any volume of Domino. And we also extend the Domino right now. So as of the CCB licensing, Domino now also include HCL Safe Links, which you may or may not know, but it is absolutely one of the most superb VPN and reverse proxy products. So it is included for anyone involved with the CCB setup. It's not just, simply you can use it for your users. Also, all CCP users have the HCL, the Verse Enterprise email user interface and the standard Notes and Domino mail, of course, at their disposal. And we simply just count the users by looking at who can actually log in and do all of this. Very simple model, very straightforward. Let's start looking at some of the external users here. A lot of people have been asking how they actually start running websites on Domino. And we've had various models to do that in the past. But if you want to run a website for anonymous users, a browser user that come to your company and browse information that you make available, that is included with the CCP license. So if your servers are licensed under CCP because you have set up all your internal users as CCP users, you can use Domino for any kind of anonymous web browsing, perfectly included. But we go one step further. So not only can I have the anonymous users who are not logged in, they can browse websites. They can also fill out contact forms. They can do anonymous blog comments, of course. They can participate in surveys. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we can also permit them one step up. So you can have users that become known users. So they are logged in. They have a simple set of credentials that allow them to log in, and they can then, submit, start workflows, participate in interest forums, get tailored content, and so forth. Very simple way of permitting people general use of an extranet access for content or participating in simple applications, but also to browse information generally. The thought here is that the value of the application that these external guest users access, the value of the application is that the guest users have access. I mean, it has no value in itself to publish information on a website unless there's someone that can come read it. So we decided that part of the application and the return of investment of having a Domino server, setting up websites based for guests and known guests, that's simply part of the value of Domino and part of why this company is running Domino and is not separately licensed, but simply included. There are a number of situations where people want a if you will, higher level of engagement with your business. So we also extend this whole model with what we call the CCX user. It's the complete collaboration external user. So you can actually extend the ability to use full use of applications and workflows to actually include external users in your value chain. So your business partners, franchise takers, whomever they are that need to fully use applications and workflows because they're an extension of your business. They may be agents working with your branded solutions. They may be selling that. They may be customizing it. They may be managing processes for you. They can become users at a more attractive price. So we provide a very attractive price for someone to get full access to using applications and workflows. They cannot be employees because, again, employees and contractors, they must be CCP users. But anyone outside the enterprise can become a complete collaboration external user, and they can use apps and workflows. They cannot create applications, and that's very deliberate. We don't think that's the role of your external constituents. That's something you do internally in the company, but they can fully participate. Also, your external users cannot have a personal mail file in your environment. Well, you can if you give them a personal mail file. Well, they will be CCP users, but other than that, they can certainly share and use task and functional mail and applications that do mail and mail-in databases. They can go work on processes from that. All that is permitted. They just cannot have a personal mail file in your environment, which we think is a reasonable limitation and allow you to get full value of your Domino applications for anybody out there in your business-to-business value chain. CCX is one of the add-on products that we have to CCB. The general model around CCP is that you license your internal environment, your Domino servers under CCP, and then you can add various capabilities to it. One capability is adding external users. You cannot just license CCX. You must have CCP first, and then you can add external users to that Domino environment. But you can add more, because not only can you add users, you can also add functions. So let me take a look at that. First of all, and I'll take it from the bottom up, you can extend your whole environment with Domino Vault. As you heard Andrew's presentation yesterday, we also talked about our entry and very strong drive in the low-code market. Domino Vault is one of the key aspects of how that happens. So Domino Vault is a platform add-on for CCP. You simply do a trade-up, so you extend your CCP environment with Domino Vault, which means that all CCP users have access to creating and using, building and using low-code apps using Vault. All your CCX and guest users can also use the Domino Vault apps, but they cannot make other applications. This is back to my remark earlier that a guest user can participate in surveys, because if you, for instance, create web surveys, you use Domino Vault to create those surveys, you can publish them to any of your guest users, and your CCX users can participate fully in whatever your Domino Vault applications are doing. They just cannot create those Domino Vault applications. Not only that, but two very popular products that a lot of people are using today, but licensing separately. The HCL Enterprise Integrator used to be called the IBM Enterprise Integrator, that used to be called the Lotus Enterprise Integrator, but LEI, IEI, HEI, by whatever name, is fully included with Vault. So if you upgrade your environment with Vault, it also makes the HCI, the Enterprise Integrator, available to anyone in that Domino environment, which is a significant value add, actually. The reason we do that is because the Enterprise Integrator, of course, also acts as a way of getting data into and out of a Domino Vault application if you need to integrate it with some of your external applications and standard systems. On top of that, we also include the SAP connector, also with all the Domino servers under CCP, exactly the same reason that we believe that you need this capability to be fully able to extend your low-code capabilities and using your production data, existing environments to integrate through HCI or SAP connector. And we simply include it, so that's what you get on top of extending with Vault, which we think is a very significant value add. So the add-on to CCP, the CCX we talked about, and then we have the ability to add Domino Vault, but we also have Same Time Premium that just became available. So you can add the Same Time Premium meeting capability per user as an add-on to Vault as well. Sorry, as an add-on to CCP as well. So for a very attractive price, you can add all the premium meeting capabilities and chat capabilities to the CCP users at an attractive price. For a CCP user, it's a simple add-on to the CCP licensing. So let me try to go through a little bit more about the user constituents here. So we really think that there are, three classes of users here, all part of the CCP model. First of all, employees, contractors, any tasks that access a Domino in your enterprise must have a CCP entitlement. This is not a function entitlement or function pricing. It's simply a price for the platform. So we're not debating that this guy is only running one application or this guy is only running email. These people are only doing, 5 other applications. Doesn't matter. They use the platform, which is what we license people to do, whether they use it for Verse, other enterprise email, whether they use it for applications and so forth, or websites, doesn't matter. It's a per CCP price for the whole platform. And the price for CCP, as I mentioned before, include all your guests and your known guests, and enable the CCX and other add-ons. So let's take the guests first. Again, as I said earlier, guests and known guests are integral to the web applications. The value of that application is exactly that it has external users. Otherwise, the application wouldn't have any value. So we're not going to license that separately, and we don't even want to get into a fight or trying to count internet users or something. Not going to happen. So we simply include it with the CCP license. And they are part of the web applications and the reason for that web application's value to the enterprise. The external users can be anonymous, or they can be guest users. Guest users will be restricted in a little bit other way, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But that's the guest and known guests. And last but not least, the CCX entitlements. They are, again, priced for the value of including your users, not by the functions they actually do. And the CCX users also will be counted very simply as we did with the CCP users. And we have some simple rules for how we do that, so we make sure that you have a transparent way of understanding and managing your licensing. So configuring the CCP. A couple of things that's important to understand, which was also true for some of the earlier licensing models that IBM had introduced, but the Domino servers running under CCP, so if you have, like, I'm just making this up, 10 CCP users, and you can set up any volume of Domino terminals you want to serve those 10 users. But only the CCP users, guest users, known guests, and CCX users are permitted access to the servers, because it is the CCP users that pay for the servers. Very simple. So any former entitlements from past licensing, be that a collaboration express, a CEO license, whatever, client access license or whatnot, they cannot access a CCP licensed server, because those servers are licensed only to the CCP users that pay for them. Very simple rule, and actually should be very simple to follow. A CCP licensed Domino server can participate in any server-to-server replication, can do mail routing, can do directory and lookup and authentication, can be an LDAP for any other program where you need it to work as an LDAP, and permit access to free busy time for integration with any other time management calendaring system as appropriate, still included with the CCP. But remember, all the old licensing will not be able to access a CCP licensed server. You can do server-to-server replication, so there's a very simple way of moving from an existing environment to a new environment. And the CCP user itself, the CCP user can actually access an existing enterprise server or utility server, but not anything else, because that's still for the license rules of those existing servers. But basically, server-to-server replication can always help you out. The restrictions on the users are actually managed through Domino and the way you permit an individual user access to an application. CCP users can do anything. They have full access to use and create applications, and same thing goes for Domino Vault. A known guest user have only read-only access, but you can code it in a way, and there's some tricks in that you can certainly start workflows. You can see tailored content for the known guests, but they really have read-only access. But for the technology guys in the audience, you can turn on the public access flag for a document and permit a reader to actually create a public access document. You can then turn the flag off, and it all works. So that's what we can do there. Basically, think of them as read-only users, CCP doing everything, and CCX can use any application, but are not entitled to create or maintain Domino or Domino Vault apps. We don't think you need that either in an environment with that type of configuration. We just want to make sure that it's clear that the CCX users can use any app, but not create ones. Another little footnote is that all deployed nodes and Domino instances actually must be at the same maintenance level throughout the enterprise. It'll be easy with CCB, but it may be a challenge with some existing licensing. But we want to make it easy for people to go forward. Now, counting the users, very simple. That's a task for the administrator as of now. In version 12, as you heard Andrew talk about also, version 12 coming in 2021, there is a Domino license reporting tool that will produce an internal report that will assist you with license compliance, because it'll simply tell you how many users you have. This is not spying on you, because that report is not shared with HCL, but the report is generated for your purposes, so you have a tool to negotiate your next renewal with your HCL reps or business partners. It is only for your own purposes, but it is a way to make sure that you know what you're consuming and can have an intelligent conversation of what is being done. What do we count? Like the administrator now, a CCP entitlement is simply the number of directory entries that permit logon, excluding those that you have decided to manage as CCX or guests. That's the administrator that'll have to figure that out. And a very simple way is if you set it up so you have a set of LDAP that permit your web access and count the CCX users, make a special directory that you use the directory synchronization to set up so that directory is for the external users. It becomes simple. The CCX entitlements, again, you can count it. It's a total number of directory entries that permit an external partner to log in. So the final number of licenses you need is for the CCP users, the total number of entries that can log in, subtract the CCX and guest users, and that's it. So it is a very simple way to manage and understand what licensing you need. Now, I would like to turn over the word to Tony for a few minutes. Because Tony will then take you through what do you do in your current licensing and how do you get to CCP if you're not already on a CCP license setup. Tony?
Thanks, Uffe. And just at that point, of course, Zoom comes up and says my internet's unstable. Hopefully you can hear me okay. All through, but in fact, it's very straightforward. What we'd like to do is buying Domino for the first time. CCB is your only option to buy a new license today. So if you're a new customer on CCB, there are no other choices. What we can also want to do is to move people across onto CCB from the environments where they are. We aren't doing that for everybody, but for a number of the license combinations, we can do that on a like-for-like cost for the number of users as is. So looking through the grid, what we look at is whether or not you can have web guest access, whether or not you can have external users, what you can add Vault to, what you can add same time to at the special pricing, and what you can add CCX to give you great value external access to your applications. So if you have CCB, you have CCB. So you can add Vault, you can add same time, and you can use CCX users. If you have bundle mail and social collaboration, you also already have CCB. That's the Domino user element of that license piece. So you're already there. So again, Vault is, you can add Vault on, we can add same time, and we can add CCX at their special pricing. If you have CEO, then at the moment you are not allowed to have web guests or external users. However, what we will do is at renewal time, we can replace you one-for-one with CCB and do that at no additional cost to you. So we'll move you off of the old CEO licensing and move you on to the new CCB licensing, which then gives you the facility to have all the new features and functions. Collaboration Express in the same scenario, we can move you to CCB. Collaboration Express has a max of 1,000 users as to be on the Express licensing, and that will go away if you move to CCB. And again, we'll do that running Utility Express. Once we understand how the users are being used in the Utility Express, we'll manage that migration of users across appropriately. So Utility Server Express, you can renew it as is. You can't buy more Utility Server Express now, but you can keep them if you already have them. But if you are adding new users or need to add PVUs onto a utility server environment, then you will need to look to move across to CCB licensing to manage that moving forwards. If you have enterprise CALs, client access licenses today with PVUs, again, for no cost, we can move you across onto CCB licensing. So we take the total value of your renewal, and we'll give you the right number of CCB licenses against your CALs. And the great news.
Somehow Tony is breaking up a little bit. Is that only
migrate to CCB by buying CCB? And that's your way forward to do that. So Messaging Express is mail only. CCB obviously has all the additional features on it, and we can find you will have to pay a difference there. And Domino messaging CALs and PVUs, we will in that environment enable a move to CCB on similar lines. So the message here is we want you to be on CCB. We don't want PVU counting. It's tough. It's hard. We want user counting. It's easy. You're only paying for what you use. It's very straightforward. And it enables you to build powerful environments with as many servers as you want and with access from external users for great value. And you can add same time so that you can own your data in your calls and your recordings and know where everything is. So if there are always questions, and that's why Uffe and I are here to answer, as well as today, moving forwards. If you have questions about licensing, we're always available to talk you through it and to right license you. That's what we want to get to the point where you're running the right licenses and the best value and getting the maximum out of everything that you're doing.
Yeah, this is Uffe. Thanks, Tony. Let me echo one thing that Tony said there. Yes, we really want to make sure that people get the license that's most appropriate for them and do that in a reasonable way. We also want to make sure that we have a way for people to use Domino to the widest extent possible for their application needs. And as you heard Andrew Manby say yesterday also, that the Domino business is the mainstay of what we do. And we're adding a lot of things onto that platform. And it's really critical that we have that in a simple and easy way to drive forward so that everybody can use it as appropriate for their business. That's what we want to achieve, and not trying to trick people with some phony licensing that we can't count appropriately. We want people to use it as much as possible and have it licensed in a way that's simple to control. One footnote I also want to mention is that for solution providers and ISVs that may not directly use a per user model, we're working on a special license model for solution providers, and that will be more clear during this month. We're running a number of pilot cases already, and we will certainly entertain more if appropriate. So Vlad, over to you.
Yeah, I'm here with you. Hi. So we have some questions from audience, and I will try to read them. So in past, it was mentioned there will be something like a floating user. I can give an example. When somebody leaves for a long vacation, for example, maternal leave, the account or user record stays in Domino directory. In this case, customer needs to keep a CCB licensed, or after some time it's released, check it in, check it out. Can you comment?
Well, very simple. We are not doing floating. We are not doing floating users. We're not doing, certain, user capacity or something. We're simply doing the counted users, the CCB model. So if a user ID is assigned to someone, that's assigned to that person and can only be reassigned for the permanent reassignment. So if this person is leaving the company or for whatever reason, sure, you can reassign it to someone else. If this person is on vacation or on leave for a while and coming back, you cannot reassign it because it's still that person. That's the rule, and that is actually the same rule that IBM also had for authorized users. And we're trying to compare with a lot of other people in the industry. And that way of doing this counter user model is what seems to be an evolving and predominant model everywhere. We want to pursue that model for sure.
So Vlad, if that user was disabled from logging in, if you put them in the deny access group, for example, so that they couldn't log in, then they wouldn't be counted.
Yeah, no, of course not.
So if they don't need access to the system, deny them access, and they don't need to be counted.
Yeah, because the maternal leave in Russia and in some countries may last for 3 years, and I think it's logical that we can block it, but then the licenses are assigned to somebody who replaces this person.
Correct. So,
can you please explain in more details, because we touched gently the user and guest. I think is guest and not guest. Can you please briefly explain again the term of the guest in CCB licensing?
There are two classes of guests. There is the anonymous guest. So anyone that comes to your websites based on Domino with a browser, and when that browser gets to the application on that server, as long as they're just admitted, they can only be admitted as anonymous. If they're anonymous, they can do, whatever an anonymous user can do. That is included, by the way, the ACL class, the permitted level of ACL is author. So you will be anonymous author, but you cannot be more than that. If you're an anonymous author, you are not needing any license because that's included with CCB.
And there's no authentication of that user. That's the important thing about their anonymity. They have not authenticated against the server.
So we don't know who it is. It's just someone coming in using the server, be our guest. Perfectly valid as long as they're anonymous all the way through.
And they're external to the organization. So no anonymous internal users.
Right. And then the known guest is the people that we give a slightly higher value engagement from the company running the Domino servers, because they are permitted to log in. So they have like a web, HTTP user ID and an HTTP password, and they can log in, and they will then be known by a user ID inside the system. If the applications they access never permit them higher access than reader, fine, they are unknown guests and they are perfectly welcome in any volume they want. Yes, there will be an entry in a directory, but you can count them. And the smart thing here is that put that directory as a separate directory, a separate LDAP, whatever you want to do, just something that you access via your directory sync type setup. So you have all those external users separately countable. They are all permitted as part of the setup, no extra licensing required. If you have external users that need a higher level of engagement because they need to do much more with applications that you can do as a reader, then you need to set them up as CCX users. The CCX user can be authenticated. They will be authenticated because otherwise it couldn't be a CCX user. So they're authenticated and they're permitted to access and work with applications. Technically, they're permitted to be in any application that they touch. Those applications can permit them to come in maximum at the access control level as authors, and they can do whatever an author can do. So it's all up to the developer and administrator how they set this up. But that's what you can do for an external user. Again, an author cannot create a Vault app, cannot create a Domino app, cannot maintain a Domino app. That's exactly what we want to achieve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It explains a question from audience. And one more question. You mentioned that the licensing mechanisms that will help customers to be compliant, it's going to be introduced in V12. Should we wait or expect this in V11 and V10 code as well?
That was a good question. Thanks for that, because that is exactly a clever question. What we're doing right now, and this is what we're trying to do. I don't know if Barry or Thomas or Humber is listening to this, but we're trying to make sure that that tool is built in a way for version 12, so we can just take the tool out of 12 and run it on 11 and 10 as well, because it will be exactly the same reporting. But we're not sure about that yet, but presumably yes. Otherwise, the administrator will need to do this counting, which should not be too difficult if you just simply set it up as 3 different classes of LDAPs or directories. Then it's very simple, counting the non-disabled entries in each of those. End of story. That gives you the CCP count, the CCX count, and the guest user count. But the guest user count is only interested for yourself. We don't want to know about it. They're just for free.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That sounds logical. Yeah. I don't see, I think we have some questions, but they've been answered by you as CCX. So
Okay.
we will gather them, pass to you. So maybe we can make maybe another slide with more detailed answers.
Sure.
We have a frequently asked questions set of slides, and I'm more than happy to take the questions you have, Vlad, and update the list of frequently asked questions and get those slides added to this deck and send it back to you for publication to the RNUG members.
We will be happy to get them, translate, and share in community. Thank you, Uffe. Thank you, Tony.
Pleasure.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you guys. And Vlad, thanks again for staging yet again a very, very awesome event. And to me so far, I participated quite a lot yesterday also. Very successful transition from a face-to-face event to a virtual event. Very well done, very well prepared. Thank you so much for that. And I'll say that, you know, next time I hope we meet face-to-face, and I'll bring my Matrushka then.
Thank you, Uffe. It's kind of honey for our hearts. So we work it really hard to make it possible with, you know, situation worldwide. But yeah.
Yeah, Vlad, I have to say, I like this, but I would have liked being in St. Petersburg more.
We will have another tour in St. Petersburg next year.
Me too, for sure. But this was good.
Yeah.
So thanks so much yet again for another successful event. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, really
Thank you
good.
very much. Thank you.
Great job, Vlad, and the team.
And a team, yeah. It's a lot of people behind. Thank you very much.
As always, thanks.
Bye-bye.